5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy, and welcome to another session of the Scotland Genealogy Study Group. Our mentor and comrade at arms is Claire Brisson-Banks, and we've also got people from Scotland on the panel with us. It's so interesting to have a discussion here. So we've got John Laws, not in Edinburgh, Scotland. We have Billy Wallace in Glasgow, across from the airport. And we have Audrey Collins from the National Archives in London, but we're letting her squeak in here because she was born in Scotland. So, and then of course we have Cousin Russ here, who's going to weave your comments in from the community. So thank you very much, Claire. We had something happen. I want to pull it up. It came up on Facebook, and it was a Scottish document. Let me get ready to share my document or my screen here. And Audrey chimed in on this discussion. It's a form. I hope everyone can see it now.
Yep.
A form of the National Insurance Act for 1911. That's the authority. And it's, I cannot say the name of the town or the parish, but it's County of Lanark.
Yeah.
And the reason it came up was that the person wanted to know if they could cite it as a birth certificate. And Elizabeth Schoen Mills, in her forum where this discussion went forward, says, you know, does it matter that it was a National Insurance Act, which was created far after this gentleman was born? Is this nothing more than just a copy? So can you all talk to me about what the heck this is, Audrey? You and Kirsty were talking about this thing a lot on Facebook.
That's right, yeah. It's a certified copy of an entry in the birth register. And that means that, in Scotland it's normally called an official extract, isn't it? But it means that in an official document somewhere, as a piece of information, and some other authority wants proof of this, and it's very often a proof of birth or marriage. So before you had any electronic or physical means of copying, you would go to the parish church, or in this case the registrar, and say, I need a copy of my birth, my marriage, whatever, and they would issue a copy. But just writing the information down on a piece of paper, not good enough. It's got to be something that's got some official status and can be checked. Now, in this case, it refers to the original birth register entry. It gives the date, and it gives the entry in the register book, which is useful, and the parish.
108, yes.
Yeah, so that if somebody wanted to check that, they could go to that register book, and there it would be entry 108 would be the birth of Peter Henshelwood. It's also signed by the registrar, and it has the words, I hereby certify.
Yes.
And all sorts of documents get certified. It's birth, marriage and death certificates most commonly, and in England you don't have a choice. You can't get a copy that isn't certified. But any kind of document that some third party needs, we at National Archives, we certify documents all the time, and it can be any document at all. It's usually births, marriages and deaths, because we've got some odd overseas ones, and a lot of the things we have certificates of nationality, and they're certified so that an authorized person who can be checked up on has certified to say, yes, this is a true copy. So, whether it's a photocopy or a handwritten copy.
All right, so it is a, so this is in the normal course of the registrar's duties, to go look at the old registers and say, this, you know. Okay, I get it. So you wanted to say something, John?
Yeah, I was going to say that presumably this was a request from the National Insurance Department to the registrar rather than the person applying for it in person, because it wouldn't.
Well, this came down through the family.
Yeah.
And the story is that he had to present this copy in order to, I guess 1911 is when you started having the universal insurance, health insurance.
Yes,
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it is 1911-12 when the Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever. Actually came into effect, the Insurance Act. There was also a quote from on that Facebook page. Someone put the actual document, the
Yes.
Act, and it struck me that that was no doubt a copy of the Act
Yes.
that was obtained from Canada, or because it didn't have, it had the requested sums of money were in dollars and cents as well as in pounds. Pounds first and dollars and cents afterwards. So
Oh, okay.
it wasn't an original copy of the Act.
All right, so it's different than a certified copy of an entry of birth in the title, so the citation would be different. Like Kirsty provided this certified copy of an entry of birth. It's still signed by a registrar. They're both carrying equal weight, in my understanding. They just have to be cited differently.
Yes, they would, because they're slightly different kinds of documents. But in both England and Wales and in Scotland, the law set down that this is what the certificates are, and at various periods what the costs were, and it could be quite expensive if you had to get a copy of a birth certificate or death or marriage. But if you needed it for a particular purpose, like the law required it, for example, that the National Insurance Act was one of them. Another one might be Education Acts. In England, it wasn't a certified copy, but when compulsory education came in, the Registrar General didn't want to be issuing vast numbers of certificates.
Yes.
But they introduced a thing which people mistake for a short birth certificate. It's not, but it's a certificate of entry, which for most practical purposes is the same thing. But
so
if
you
a law
still
was,
get it from the registrar.
yes, and those low cost ones, which were under some piece of legislation like an Education Act or National Insurance Act, you could get those at a cheaper rate, but you could only get them from the local registrar. You couldn't get them from the
Main office. Yeah.
That's the position in England. I think it was the same in Scotland. But
Does that sound right to you, Billy?
Yeah, the Scots were similar. You tended to, on the national insurance document, you would find there would be a post stamp rather than an embossed stamp.
Oh,
and you
yes.
actually paid for the price of the stamp plus a small fee for the document.
You can actually see you can see the back of the stamp on that document.
Yeah, and that was in the middle of it. I thought initially, and I've already closed that screen, I thought initially that was tape, but it was the stamp on it, on the back side.
They put the stamp on it and then signed across it, I believe.
Okay, well, sounds interesting to me.
I've still got odd legal documents, things like for insurance policies and things in the family that make it official. You signed across a stamp, and I've still got a few of those, that my mother has. Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense too, because in our U.S. Postal Service, they cancel the stamp. You can't use it again.
Oh, that's right.
The post office, stamps it with the date that they're processing it. So very good. Thank you, Russ, for pulling that back up. All right, let's move on. I just want to remind everybody that we're using the Scotland Genealogy page at Family Search in their wiki. You get, Cousin Russ will give you the link. I also want to remind you about the Scotland Family Research Outline. This is the record selection table from the Scotland Genealogy wiki page. If you need this, look first here, then look there. Claire's been adding a lot of links. And Claire, when do you typically do this? Like the day before we meet?
Normally I do it either the 1 or 2 days before we meet so that I'm prepared for the class on Wednesday. But I did 2 weeks this week because I was away for that little bit of time. Okay. And so I caught up all of last week's and this week's.
Okay.
And if people have in the community, we love the community. If they have links they want to share, we can add to this so that makes it available for everyone. I think that's the best way to go.
Right. And the thing to tell you folks, if she's updating this every week, you all need to download this every week to have the latest, greatest. There's a few things she's mentioned that aren't online. And that are going to require either in-person or microfilm research. And there's a research log for you on this last tab. One other thing I want to mention, and then we're going to dive into monument or the monumental inscriptions, and Claire's going to be giving me that link. Earlier today in the community, you saw a post called "How to View and Comment During Mert's Live Hangouts." It occurs to me that I need to post this about every month because we keep getting new people all the time. And it explains, yes, you may watch things on the YouTube channel. Dear Myrtle has one. That's where this is archived automatically. But the best way, where you can view and comment, because there's no comments allowed over on YouTube, is to do it right here in the Google Plus community, and there's directions for it. Okay, so thanks, Russ. So talk to me about monumental inscriptions, Claire, and I'll pull up your link.
Okay, I sent you that a little bit earlier. If I need to send it again?
Yes, I got it.
Okay, we're going to wrap up the rest of these. There's a lot of records that are available, some online, and this one here is an example of, these is usually done by a society. So this one is done by the Aberdeen Society, and you can actually go in, because if you can't take a trip to Scotland, I mean, we can't go all and stay with Billy. I mean, he doesn't have room, you know?
Yeah.
And
John would just put us up on that hill.
This is true. This is true. So what you can do is you can actually purchase, for some of them, like, you know, some of them are not as expensive as others. As you can see, there's a small cost for them, and you can get, and usually they're in book form.
Okay, so like the local society did these, they walked the cemetery and wrote down what the tombstone inscriptions were?
That is correct.
Okay, cool.
And so that's a really great help. Then there's
just as we're looking, Billy's holding one up for the area where his ancestors are from.
Yeah, this is I'll pull back a bit. It's a small A5 booklet. They normally cost about £2.
Yeah, they're not very expensive at all, and it's worth their weight in gold.
You can mail order them as well from a lot of the family history societies, and they give you every inscription on every grave for every person.
That's incredible. Let me ask you a question on that. In Germany, I was quite chagrined to find that they don't keep the graves forever. That about every 25 to 40 years, they just move all the tombstones and put them around the perimeter or use them for a walkway or something. That's not where somebody was buried. And they bury new people in those burial plots. Is that a practice that we see in Scotland, Claire?
That I don't know. I heard about that when we were met at your place at Roots Tech, and that was amazing to find that out.
Yeah, it's rather upsetting when you're used to doing cemetery research, and then you go there and they're all from after World War II. Billy, what do you know about that? Maybe you can answer that.
In Scotland, what you'll find is the burial plot or layer is purchased, and it can be in perpetuity, in other words, forever.
Yes.
Or it can be 100 years or 50 years, 25 years. And once the rights are finished, it reverts back to the property of the council that owns the land.
Yes.
And they can do with it what they want. If the cemetery is overcrowding, then they can remove the bodies.
Okay. That's where we ended up last week, was understanding about what happens during the wake and whether there would be a church service and a burial. I just didn't know what happened after that. John, you wanted to tell us something.
Yeah, I think you have to differentiate between civil cemeteries and church cemeteries. because the different rules apply.
Okay, so that's a good point. I'm realizing that I wanted to bury my father in his ashes, which you can do that, in the grave of his mother or his father. And though in order to do it, I would have to find all the descendants of the person who purchased the the um, the the grave sites, because the descendants own that. Now my grandmother Myrtle, um, her husband died first, and so in the case here in the United States, she had her sister go buy it and go buy the 2 burial plots, and so it's in her name. And she gave permission later for her sister to be buried in this burial plot that grandmother had obviously paid for, but because the sister's name is on it, I would have to go to such lengths to get every single one of those living descendants and descendants of those who passed on, and that's just too much. I'm good at finding old dead people, not live people. Okay, Claire, are we going to go on to, are we ready?
Yep, there's another link. Now this is
Okay.
UKBMD, and you can go by the counties, and they have different. You have to apply the filter. There's a filter. So go and pick a county.
Okay, just a second. So we go to county here on this side.
Yep, click on a county, and so let's stick with Aberdeen. We're right there.
Okay.
And then
I thought I selected it. There we go.
Now click on the word county.
Okay.
And that should bring it in. And now see there it says apply a filter.
Yes.
Up at the top. So click on that right there. See, now you can go down and you can scroll down. See where it says monumental inscriptions there.
Wow, and look at all these other things.
Yep.
Okay.
So all right, and click
and
on
they're
that.
telling. It looks like without clicking on it, I don't want to click on it yet.
No, that's fine.
It looks like they're showing you some things that are at Ancestry and some that are not.
Right. There's a large variety, and what I love about it, so they pull them in. You can actually do, there's a military one, there's a bunch of them there, and then apply the filter, and so what's left is all the records that you can get from the different monumental inscriptions, and it's all done by county. It's a fabulous resource.
Okay, and the word you used, Billy, when you said cemetery, was it L-A-I-R?
Yeah, L-A-I-R.
Yep, Lair.
Each cemetery has what they call lair records, which identifies everybody in the grave. And you can write to the cemetery, and normally you will get a reply, and they'll give you an idea of what's in the lair record.
Okay.
One of the Glasgow Cathedral burial ground, some of my ancestors are buried there, and the records, unusually for Scotland, are fantastically detailed, and they tell you who owns the lair that the person's buried in. And in one case, I'd got an ancestor of mine whose surname was Carrick, and he was buried in the lair belonging to Hugh Rankin. Who was Hugh Rankin? I thought. Turned out it was his father-in-law. So it was an extra bit of proof that they were connected. And I got something I just thought about Scottish funerals that I was surprised to find it's nearly 40 years ago now, when I went to Glasgow for my grandfather's funeral. And there was a church service, and then he was buried, and then there was the wake afterwards. But I was very surprised to find that only the men went to the graveside.
I didn't.
None of the women, even including my grandmother, and this was quite normal. So I was fairly surprised about that. But then
even
afterwards,
in the 20th century.
Yeah, that was 1976.
Oh wow!
So that was just normal practice. Now I don't know whether my family came from a particularly old-fashioned enclave. This was the Catholic side of my family, but my Church of Scotland mother said, "Oh no, seems quite normal." So I don't know if Billy's got any comments on that, but I thought that was quite interesting.
What do you think, Billy?
Well, one is it depends on the particular church you're in. Some of them discourage the women coming to the graveside. Others don't discriminate at all. But
Mm-hmm.
there was a tradition to keep women away as they were too, quote, sensitive for the proceedings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Plus,
Never
they
mind
needed to go back and fix the
fix the food. Yeah. Never mind the fact that it was probably a woman who laid the body out in the first place.
Yeah, that dressed him. Yeah, exactly. I hear you. Okay, so I'm learning a lot. So what's the next link you want me to share? Oh, we got
Okay.
some from the community.
I got a question. I'm not sure what it relates to. Are these local publications translated?
If you're referring to the family history grave records, like this one, they're in English.
Okay.
They're all in English, yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know
So
what
they're
other than that. They're
translated
all
from,
translated, yes.
yeah, from Old Scots or Gaelic or whatever language they
Yeah.
are in modern English.
And that would, in the Catholic Church, you would have had Latin in the older records.
Yeah, even in the older Scottish Scottish non-Catholic records, you would have had Latin, and if you go far enough, you have Anglo-Norman French,
Oh my heavens.
which isn't as intimidating as you might think because you actually know Anglo-Norman French.
Oh, well,
And
I'm glad. I'm
say
writing that
two
down
words,
on my next resume.
if I say two words, you'll know them instantly. Bus and bay.
Because it's based in French and the Latin and the Romance languages.
Little cook dus.
I hear ya. All right. So what have we got here? We have a Scottish Record Society.
Right. Now notice that this comes from archives.org at the top. If you notice the link.
Yes.
Okay, so archive.org is, as you know, they're trying to recreate, they're trying to make the biggest online library, so to speak, available. And they've been scanning records for eons. And so they've got this register.
This is Mr. Kale's work, right?
Yep, this is. And
this
so
is the same place you'd go for the Wayback Machine to try to look at old websites that are defunct. Yeah.
That's a fabulous website. So this is I have two sets of records from them that I found. This one is Greyfriars, which is fabulous.
Okay.
Greyfriars is the one with the little dog and the Disney movie that was made.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make that, people, they might think that that was just a funny, a nice, pleasant story that Disney made. It's a true story. I've been there 3 times so far to that place. It's just gorgeous, the whole place. And they have the little dog there and everything. It's amazing.
Let me tell you, I click this little forward button. Now it's a pause button. It's automatically turning the pages for me. So if you're a really fast reader, you can glance through and say, oh, we're only up to the Atchisons. Let's keep going. You don't have to click. But you could also probably just, let me pause it. Do you want me to search for a specific surname?
You can just, it's okay. You can go up there and you can search for a name. They're all in alphabetical order.
All right, well, what name should I don't know any.
Let's do John Laws's name. We just bring him right in with his shirt and tie.
All right, we'll go to the law section of it. No matches found.
Billy made a comment about that burial ground. You want to make that comment so we all can hear it, Billy?
Yeah, Greyfriars is the most haunted graveyard in Scotland.
Oh, just in time for Halloween.
Yeah, and can I just add another point about the Glasgow Cathedral graveyard? It's called the Glasgow Necropolis. It has its own website and its own full-time historian. And if you're ever in Glasgow, go up there of an evening and you do a free tour of the graveyard.
I think
and it's a historical walk. Well worth it.
Is this the one?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I will share it with the community. It's a really beautiful place.
Yeah. Also, you get research assistance on that website as well.
Okay. So let me give you this link, Cousin Russ. We're doing pretty well on the links today. There you go. So that's the Friends of the Glasgow Necropolis. My, y'all went for a variety of tombstones and monuments. Are they more called monuments and not so much tombstones?
The larger ones are monuments.
Yeah,
The smaller ones are tombstones or headstones.
right.
The Another interesting fact about that, there's the Mullen Diner runs through there. You can't see it anymore, but there's a famous brewery that used to draw its water from that stream that ran through the graveyard.
Oh, yuck. I don't want to know. I don't want to know that one. Okay.
Barbara made a comment. When I was in Glasgow, we went to a necropolis. It is amazing.
Wow. I think we saw it before when we looked at the church and you could see it to the side and you showed us they have crypts. Yes.
Yeah.
The very wealthy people might have crypts here. So I can see some of this. Okay, next link.
I was just going to say something about that wonderful book.
Yes.
From archives.org. Those really, really old books where that information was recorded, maybe a century or more ago, they can be really useful where something has happened to the cemetery in the meantime. I've certainly seen odd cases where somebody recorded the stuff in the 19th century and then during the Second World War,
yes.
so all the stones were destroyed forever. Or sometimes they've just become a bit eroded. Scotland isn't so bad because the stone up there is better. English ones, they're often on stone that laminates easily. But all the same, there are all sorts of things that can happen to a stone. So if there's a really, really old book, there might be things recorded in there that you will never find anywhere else because they ain't there no more.
Because they're gone, because it's been wiped off the face of the earth. And we have that here, so I can relate to that. Okay, so what do you want me to do next, Claire? Because I get to do all the showing.
I know. There's the next one I sent you was St. Cuthbert's Churchyard in Edinburgh. I gave you that link. Okay. I'll give it to you again if you want.
Yeah, I only see Scottish records at archive.org.
Okay, I'll send it again. Hold on. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened to it.
I love old books like this one we just looked at.
Okay, here it comes.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. Well, it is the same. Oh, here's this one in Edinburgh.
It's in Edinburgh. This is a little different. It's a nice old book, as you can see.
Okay, let me be sure that I have the camera on the right person. I do. This is the one you want?
This is St. Cuthbert's.
Okay, yes. Good. 1915. So we'll see. I guess it's from the same. So
that's from archives. Yep, that's from the archives.
Share screen.
Oh, sorry, dear. Okay. So do these have maps in them typically? Or how are the rows marked? Is there a little stone at the end of each row?
That's a good question.
We have that at the city, Salt Lake City Cemetery, which used to be the largest municipal cemetery in the U.S. I don't know if it is anymore. They just have a little marker stone that says like A or B, and it's like a 4x4 sticking up out of the ground. 4 inches by 4 inches.
I know. Well, this has different divisions, so maybe there's divisions within, you could check with the office there, or there must be a way that it's blocked off, just like we have streets that, name like row A and row B and things like that.
It depends on the size of the cemetery. If it's a small one, there won't be markers on the rows. In the larger ones, there is, but in every cemetery, there's a map of the headstones with the main name on it. If you're visiting a cemetery, if you go to the cemetery office, you ask them, they'll take you to the map and show you how to go about it.
Okay, go do your ushering, John Laws. Thank you for being here and contributing. All right, let's see. Yes?
I'm going to say St. Cuthbert's is actually in the moat or dry moat of Edinburgh Castle.
Oh, okay.
and the railway runs directly underneath it.
Okay, very interesting.
Don't dig down too deep.
Yeah.
All right, I gave you
Nasty
another.
surprise.
I want to show you the detail in this one.
I mean,
I
the
don't know if
detail's
I can
amazing.
zoom in. Yeah, I can zoom in. Because it says on the top, on the right tablet, on the left tablet, they could not possibly have written all this up on the tombstone. This must be an amended thing because they might put sacred to the memory of writer in Edinburgh, born in a certain place, but they had 8 sons and daughters, and they're listing all that, and the grandmother, they would put all that on a single tombstone.
It can happen, yeah.
Yeah.
Can happen, yeah.
Yeah, you can do it on granite.
I mean, look at number 92. How short, but that one is.
That's what I would have expected. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So this must be a much bigger tablet.
Yeah.
Also, on the one you were looking at, if you just to the top left of it, it says there was 2 tablets, which means 2 headstones.
Yes.
Or a double headstone.
Yes.
Don't try putting it on the slate.
No, it just
not the
wouldn't
West
last.
Country.
Yes, no. Okay, what have you got from the community, Russ?
Yes, Elizabeth says the volunteers send me photos from my family Glasgow necropolis, priceless.
Wow, I'm so happy to hear about that. That's good when we have breakthroughs like that. Okay.
All right, I've given you a link to the southern necropolis.
Okay.
You see that there?
It's coming up.
Awesome. Okay, so we talked about necropolis. I love how they call it the city of the dead.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is, I don't know if anyone's been there. But this has, if you look at the top on the right is a little menu. It says the history, and they actually tell you to read the index, character index. They give you some links. And it has the listing of the interments right there, down in the third one.
Yeah, here's the character index, so you could kind of get the hang of it. There are some famous people, it looks like. Here's links.
Right, to different ones that
Police
can help.
Museum and things, and then we have the
The actual interments themselves.
And I always forget and put an extra letter in that word. I always put INTERNMENTS, and that means something completely different. Silly me. Okay, we're good.
All right.
All right, now these look clickable, but they're not. They're just
they're just all done in alphabetical order. And these are, as you can see, they're much smaller. It's just a listing of the interments. I'm not sure why these are smaller than the others. Maybe it's a summary.
Maybe it's just the way they did their webpage design.
Perhaps. But notice, like this one says layer right above it, layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Perhaps that would mean that there's more information. You've mentioned layer a few times, Billy. Would that mean that there's more information?
Yeah, that's the record number for that plot of land, and all the bodies and details about them contained therein.
So you might have 2 people with different last names that would appear different alphabetically because they have a married daughter, for instance, buried there or something. Okay, got it. Super.
Or a cremation alongside with the caskets.
So do you have Find a Grave Scotland?
Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to do that in a couple of seconds. Just hold on.
All right, I shall be patient.
Okay. All right.
As an interesting, just an aside, the city of the dead, the word necropolis, is actually flesh eaters, because when the people were going to bury other people in the same grave, they were finding no flesh, hence the name.
Oh, I don't even want to know.
No, we don't want to know that.
All right, so good. We're ready.
The next link is for the Scotland Society, Genealogical Society. They have the largest collection of the monumental inscriptions.
Oh, okay.
And so if you happen to get a chance to go there, or you can also order them from there if you don't want to go through your local family history society.
Mm-hmm.
And they have lots and lots of resources there too, but they are known to have the largest collection of monumental inscriptions.
Okay. Looks like they have a very hefty a program schedule of topics planned for next year and the conclusion of this year. So kudos to them. So do we go under resources or downloads? Oh, that's
I think it's under resources or family history. I'm not sure now. There we go. Resources, and then you'll see monumental inscription MIs right
oh, is
there.
that what the MI? Okay.
Right. See
All
those. So
right.
we just brought up the Southern Necropolis, and there's
Yeah.
we're going to bring up you can bring that up, and that'll save us one. This is a wonderful resource. It's on my list.
I'll give it to you, Russ.
Go ahead. And what this one is that this is a site for anyone that fought in any of the wars. It's the fabulous site.
Oh, yes, I've been here before. That's why it looks familiar.
I was going to bring that up, but military, but we can bring it up today. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
If you can type in the name of an individual.
All right, give me a name, Billy.
James Morrison, and you'll find him in Belgium in the Menine Bridge Memorial. What I would say about this site is quite often during the wars, World War One, World War Two,
yes,
in Scotland, you won't find a record of death for them, possibly on Scotland's People or church records.
Really?
No. Well,
this is where you would go to double check if they were killed in action.
Okay, I'm going to pull up a PDF because I'm not sure. Oh my. Oh. And it tells the story. Oh my heavens.
This is a fabulous website. People who had anybody that fought in any of the wars need to spend some serious time in here because they'll get a lot of information.
And then here's something about his younger sister even.
Yep.
Oh my heavens. This is incredible.
There's another really useful thing. I mean, it's comparatively recent, but Commonwealth War graves. It's got.
Okay, I'll pull it up.
That's what it is.
Oh, it still is. Okay.
Yeah, it's got deaths of people who died who were in the British Army or other armed forces and the Merchant Navy. Despite the fact it says graves, it includes people who were killed at sea. So I took it too literally. I didn't think my great-great-grandfather would be there because I knew his body was never found, but he is. But for the Second World War only, it includes civilian casualties. So basically people who were killed in bombing raids. And there's a particularly tragic Scottish one. If you look for the surname Rocks, R-O-C-K-S,
okay,
there was a whole family of about a dozen of them or more, all killed in one air raid in Clydebank. I think the only one who survived was the father of the family because he was at work on the night shift, and while he was away at work, the whole of the rest of his family were all killed in a bombing raid. So there's lots of civilians on the Second World War, only the Second, not the First World War.
Okay, all kinds of other interesting things coming up. All right.
Okay, so now. We could. There's a few websites that are dedicated specifically, like this one's dedicated to the military. These are sites that are dedicated to actual like find a grave and things like that. So this is Interment Net for Scotland. I just gave you the link for that.
All right, got it.
Okay, notice that they're just starting to get into the Scotland records.
Okay. So they just have a few things that are hyperlinked.
So they're working on it.
But you know what? I like this that they tell you which counties they have.
Right, they're honest right up
and which they don't have. That way you can plan and you'll know to come back later if your county isn't there.
Right. Then you can go click on one of those links and check it out. Dumfries and Galloway would be a good one. And then it gives you the actual churchyard, select a cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's here they are.
There's just a small little cemetery.
See, that's what I'm used to. That kind of a thing for a tombstone inscription book, or just the facts. They actually don't say every little detail of what's on the tombstone. They just abstract or take out only the names and dates.
However,
maybe it's relationship.
It's nice that they did provide, wife of John.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. Granddaughter of John and Agnes Kirkpatrick. I mean, that's very helpful for us genealogists.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Okay, now I gave you another one. This one is a new one. It's been around for maybe 2, maybe 3 years. Deceased Online.
Okay.
This is a paid website, and they've indexed a lot of Scotland and England names, and you have to have an account, but you can do. I think you can do just a regular search.
Okay.
But let people know that this is here. Notice they say more. Down the bottom there it said more Aberdeen, letting you know the latest things. And they send emails when they add a whole cemetery. They send us emails to let them know they've added that, which is really nice. Yeah. So to get on their email list is great, because then if that's the cemetery you're looking for, you'll know that. Yeah. But see, it says free advanced search here. You can do a little search.
Yeah, so you can see dates, but you'd still want to belong to get to the more details.
Right, and this is a pay-as-you-go thing. You just pay a small amount, and you get a lot of clicks and whatnot, and you actually get a copy of the tombstone. It's kind of really a good service.
Yeah, one of the things about Deceased Online, they've actually been going for a few years now, and they're very nice people. What you'll typically find on there is they do a lot of work with big municipal cemeteries. Family history societies have tended to do the usually more manageable church burial grounds. And the municipal ones, they're just so big. But Deceased Online, it's an offshoot company from a company that provides administration services to cemeteries and crematoria. And then they realized, hang on, we're doing all this, creating databases, and we've got a really useful resource here that family historians might be interested in. So they took a stand one year at Who Do You Think You Are Live in London, and they were practically trampled. They really got off to a flying start, and they've been back every year. But it's the fact that they do big municipal cemeteries.
Okay.
They've got some smaller ones as well. They've even got some National Archives records on there, some of the big military cemeteries at Sandhurst and Haslam. And you might find your Scottish ancestors in those, because anybody who was in the Army and the Navy, they could still end up getting planted in England if that's where they happen to fall. So, but Deceased Online is really useful. There's an advert. Reaches the part other beers can't reach, and that's kind of what they're a bit like. Yeah, yeah, Billy knows the one I mean.
Yeah. What I was going to say about Deceased Online is, if people have used Scotland's People, the Deceased Online payment system is similar to that.
Yeah,
you only pay for what you need. It's not a yearly or a monthly subscription.
No, and what's really nice is, like, I have some credits left. They sent me a nice little reminder email that they'll expire by the end of the month if I don't use them up, but that if I go in and I put some funds in, that they would kick those in plus. So it was really nice. I wouldn't lose them altogether.
Okay, so we're not going to be finding at Scotland's People, the go-to place from my point of view. We're not going to be finding all these monumental inscriptions, these MIs.
No. I gave you, no, we're not. I gave you another link. This is from Archives. This has, somebody went around and I guess they pulled out specific epitaphs, they called them. Can you see that?
Yes.
And just go through a few pages of that. A fabulous resource. And it goes through and it gives really long, a lot of information on these. I don't know if you can do just automatically, just click a small area, it doesn't matter. Okay, well, I don't know if there's any Wallaces in there. That'd be cool.
All right, there's a Gerald Wallace who died in 2011.
Okay, that's not, I think you went out of the book.
All right, apparently I did.
Okay, click on the symbol down near the book, to the right of the book, about halfway down, up, right there.
That one. Okay, now somebody else would have made that same mistake. Yeah.
I agree. So we can see if there's any Wallaces in here. That would be cool. But this is a really great resource also.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop
And
this.
I love how it says the theater of mortality. Go figure that one.
I know. Well, if this was published in 1834, they were using flowery
language, yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, now I haven't shown this to the group, so let me start again. Let me get that link from Claire. I did that thing where I don't, there we are, where I don't have the camera on the right person.
Okay.
So what I had done, folks, was I clicked here and it was having me look all over the Internet Archives. What I wanted to do was search inside this particular publication, which came out in 1834, if you don't know your Roman numerals. Yeah. Wow, interesting sketches.
I know.
Right. So once I click that side button, then I could search inside this book. But look at what it looks like. There's the preface, printed in Glasgow. Let's keep going. And this is what you were talking about. So I'm going to pause it here. Up. All right. Oh, you can just do it that way too. I haven't looked at books here. I've looked at old websites here at the Internet Archive. And Brewster Kahle is a wonderful fellow to have this plan set.
Oh.
Okay, so that's a very interesting book. Very interesting.
Oh yeah, it has tremendous things.
So these are unusual ones.
Right, and it says for all of Scotland. So because it was done in 1834, there was a lot, I would say, less people than there are today.
Yes, yes, quite a few less inscriptions to be concerned about. Okay,
right.
very
so
good.
Now we can slip into findagrave.com, our favorite website, I suppose.
And you don't have to do Scotland or anything like that.
Yeah, you can. You can go click on search for click on search 100. Search a cemetery. You can actually break it down into go into countries, and they do have some for For you go under. They don't have Scotland per se, but I want people to be aware that it's there, that they have England, and they are adding. They have South Africa. What they have is amazing.
How do they not have Scotland?
I know, isn't that terrible? But the point is, people may want to think they go there. Oh, I'll go to find a grave. They haven't got Scotland yet. Maybe because of Deceased Online. I don't know.
Actually, I've just put there is a Find a Grave specifically for Scotland. I put the link in here.
Oh, wonderful!
Oh, you did?
Okay, let's go there.
And I'll put it in the community as well.
Find a Grave Scotland.
Okay.
All right, now you know what? That's excellent that we had it occur this way.
It
because
is.
I would have looked for it in the drop-down menu with all those other countries.
Which is why I asked you to do that, to show people that it was not there.
Yeah. But here it is, and
Yeah,
Russ, you can share that. I'll zoom in.
It's a relatively new site, so it may not be as comprehensive as Find a Grave US in comparison, but it's going to get there.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just been looking, and I found if you go to findagrave.com, and it said browse by location. And it's not a drop-down menu; it's a list of locations, and that list includes Scotland in Europe. Now, there's not much there.
Okay, search for cemetery, browse by non-LDS non-LDS,
non-US,
non-US country. Sorry, guys. Then we select a state. Oh, that's bad that it's like this. Ancestry. There's Scotland that way.
There's Scotland that way.
But I've never done it that way. And that's very bad. But you would need to look then in both places. Thank you for doing that and making this understandable. Find a Grave Scotland needs a little help too, because look at the tab. It just says home. It needs to say Find a Grave Scotland.
Yeah, I think it's because they're a new site.
They're new. Yeah,
they're new, and we need to mention. Look, they have that. They're breaking it down by the region. So, you know, they will grow like deceased, you know, the deceased online will grow. They got a good head start.
Well, at least they have the listing of the cemeteries, so that you could, you know, you may only know that the person was buried in a certain named cemetery, but you don't know the location. You could still decipher all that. But that's kind of tricky, to have to concern yourself with findagravescotland.com, which I wonder if Ancestry has anything to do with this. Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look
Does
like
not. No.
At least at this point.
Yeah. And over here, Ancestry owns this Find a Grave, and that they have permitted that to be a problem for Scotland, that you can only get to the Scotland ones by browsing. That's very bad web design.
That is very bad.
That's sloppy. Even I can do better than that, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Well, those were the last ones that I had for Scotland. If someone else has any others, the community, we'd love to have them. We can add them into the spreadsheet for people. If they could do that, that would be great. We have about 9 minutes, which is time to introduce the Scotland clearances.
All right, let me just bring in this one comment from Betty Lou.
Betty Lou says, deceased online looks like there are only records from England and Wales.
Oh, no, they have a mixture.
Okay.
And Elizabeth...
Oh, sorry.
Elizabeth says...
Other wonderful books on Scottish...
Oh, yes.
Chris Patton, and she has a number of links, has a link in the community, and she says, I find them to be extremely useful.
Okay, very good. All right, you wanted to say something, Billy?
Yeah, I'll throw in a quick tip for somebody. If they only have the name of the graveyard, if they put it into Google, that will find the relevant graveyard for them and give them all the details of contacts, addresses, and so forth that they can chase down. And some of the graveyards, like Glasgow Necropolis, do have their own websites that you can go in and do a bit of searching.
All right, give me a smaller cemetery.
Lamb Hill.
Okay, spell it, please.
Lambhil. A for apple.
Lamb Hill, Lamb.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then just, if you click crematorium, it's next to the graveyard.
Yeah, that would make sense. So you're able to find out. So if you'd heard that they were at the Lamb Hill Cemetery, it happens to have a website, we're just doing an ordinary Google search.
Right. Yep.
Oh, don't you love the internet?
Oh,
there's
I love
CWCG link in that search results that you got.
Yep.
Ah, okay. Yep, you're right. The cemetery war graves. So part of this cemetery includes war graves.
Probably a war memorial. And on the war memorial is listed a bunch of people, which would be really, you know, maybe somebody may have just transcribed it. Says, see the casualty records. It's right there. See it, little link.
You do get individual Commonwealth war graves in ordinary cemeteries and churchyards all over the UK, abroad as well.
We get that too.
Yeah. And they're a very distinctive style. You can tell as soon as you walk in, you can usually see the Commonwealth ones because they're really quite a bright white colour, and they have to be, that's usually if somebody died at home in the UK, either died of wounds in hospital, or sometimes it's just, you know, an accidents, particularly aviators. So you do get quite a lot there, and I've even seen them, some of our local ones, where you haven't just got the details of the man who died in the war, but also details of his wife as well. Haven't seen that on very many, but I have seen it. So it's not something I was expecting, considering this is an official war grave site. But they are dotted around churchyards, and sometimes they're the only ones that are well kept because they have to be.
Yeah, we see that here in the U.S. because the military tombstones are specific dimensions, and they'll be set apart, and usually they'll be the flag, United States flag, and a place to congregate with benches and things like that to contemplate. And in fact, I know of researchers, people that you and I know, who have ordered a replacement tombstone for their ancestor because they had become too worn out over the years. Okay, you've got something else for us to share here, and I will pull it up.
Yeah, John mentioned there's a Scotland War Memorials, and I was able to find that really quick.
Good.
So I guess we'll wrap up with the end of these and start with the clearances next week. Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan. So, Cousin Russ, have we got any more comments from the community?
Because if they have lots of links, it would be great to add to that.
We don't have it at the moment.
All right. Well, one of the things I've noticed, folks, has been so good about this particular study group is it's taken a lot of people to pull together their experiences with certain websites, and I really appreciate each of you being on the panel, and those of you who are cheering them on by saying, yes, somebody sent me the gravestone images. I just love technology. Cousin Russ, we're so lucky to be part of all this discussion.
Absolutely.
And I don't even have Scottish ancestors, so what am I caring about? Oh, I do.
Try hard, keep looking.
Yeah, I probably will find them eventually. That's true. I said that about New England, and then my stepmother's all New England, so that's what happens. Okay, so Cousin Russ, we're going to be doing 2 more things this week, aren't we? Do you want to mention them?
Sure. We're going to have Wacky Wednesday tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock and Salt Lake City time. And on Saturday, we will do our monthly Who's in My Line?
And there will be prizes.
Oh, wonderful.
We like to give away prizes on game night. Okay, sounds good. And believe it or not, we've got some really interesting Wacky Wednesdays coming up. I may have to quit going out to dinner with Mr. Bert on Wednesdays. I don't know. It's always so nice, though, because it's not crowded. It's a school night, so the kids aren't there. And yeah, the weekend, everybody else is off work and they go to dinner, so I like to go on Wednesdays. All right, anything else we should be thinking about, Cousin Russ? I think we're doing pretty well today.
I think we are.
Okay. Well, thank you, panel, for helping us out, and thank you, community, and behalf of Cousin Russ, I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. This has been another Scotland Genealogy Study Group session. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.